Hello, my name is Danielle Love. I am the founder of Diabetes Dominator Coaching, the Diabetes Empowerment Summit, and best-selling author of Unleash Your Inner Diabetes Dominator. Very grateful to be coming to you today on behalf of We Are Diabetes to contribute to the incredible resource that is the Recovery Toolkit. Today, I am here to talk about resilience, about what resilience is, what it actually means, both in theory and in practice. And I have been tasked to keep this video 20 minutes or less, so I am going to keep it bite-sized with the information that I am sharing today. So I've taken some notes. If you see me looking over to the side, it's because I'm very thorough and I like to make sure that I bring the most important points to the table when I have a very short period of time. Having been in recovery from an eating disorder and living with type 1 diabetes, I've been living with type 1 diabetes for 30 years. I've been in recovery from my eating disorder since I was probably about 19 or 20. I'm now 38. So I have a lot of lived experience and also have been coaching people with diabetes and without for over 10,000 hours throughout my career. So I have a lot of information about how to become more resilient, specifically when we are consciously and intentionally healing ourselves from damage or the belief of damage that we may have done to ourselves. And one of the biggest parts of resilience is love and forgiveness. And the reason why these two things are so crucial is because, so let's just go to the definition of resilience, which I always like to look at the word itself. I looked it up and it says the capacity to recover from difficulties, toughness. And the reason why love and forgiveness are so paramount to living a life of resilience is because if we are unwilling or unable to practice love of self and forgiveness of self on a very regular basis, and I mean every day, it's a daily practice, it becomes extraordinarily difficult to be resilient because we are creating our own mental and emotional blocks around living in resilience because we are punishing ourselves constantly for our actions. So resilience is self-made, and it is made through the consistent daily practices of love and forgiveness. What appreciation or resilience actually looks like in practice is a daily practice of recognizing one's worthiness, knowing deeply in your heart and your soul that you are fully worthy of every good thing that life has to offer, and there are no, I'm trying to think of the right word, which I cannot think of right now, but you don't have to do anything to be fully worthy. You don't, I don't, no one else in this world does. My belief, after many years of coming from very painful and self-hurting belief systems, what I know for sure is that every single human being that is alive is worthy of love, forgiveness, and all of the good things life has to offer. You don't have to meet, there are no requirements. That is the word I was looking for. The only requirement is that you exist. And once you're willing to shed all of these other beliefs that you likely have picked up from your parents, from religion, from your caretakers, from society, from the media, any and all of these many avenues where we receive constant information, which clouds our ability to internally listen to our own internal compass, our intuition about what's right and what's not. When we can shed that and we can accept and know that I am fully lovable, fully worthy, fully able to give and receive love, and fully able to forgive myself every single day and other people for what they do, all of a sudden, you're the most resilient person that you know, because embodying resilience genuinely means embodying love and forgiveness. So one of the things that I teach is how to release old beliefs that are not serving you, and to condition new beliefs, new life-affirming beliefs, new self-affirming beliefs, beliefs that actually help you become more of your best self, of your highest self, which we all have. And just so you know, every time you hear me talking about love, forgiveness, best self, highest self, this 100% means you. And if you exist and you're watching this, there's no other requirement. You are this person. You have a higher self. You have a best self. Not at all saying that we need to embody it every minute of every day. However, when we're living in the cloud, in the storm of an eating disorder and type 1 diabetes, it can be very, very difficult to see through all of that to the true inner self that we all have. So a way to do that, a way to actually put that into practice, one way that I really love is affirmations. And yes, I'm very woo-woo, right? That's a term, that's a label. I fully embody it. However, all of the woo that I know of is fully based in science, and they are one and the same. So affirmations are also known in scientific and academia as autosuggestion. And autosuggestion and affirmations simply mean that you are consciously and intentionally programming or conditioning your brain, your being, to believe and think something specific. That's all that means. And so when we know, which we do, so science has proven it a million times over, that our brain is simply a computer, for lack of a better term, that we, each of us individually, has full power. No one else has the power except us to program our brains the way that we want them to be. That once we know that, it's up to us to begin the programming, right? And in the new programming, we begin erasing the old programming. And so this is all very kind of standard information, but what I'm going to suggest is that if you are genuinely interested in fueling your resilience through love and through forgiveness, that you commit to a very simple practice for 30 days. And that practice is writing down in a journal that you've dedicated to your own healing process and journey, one affirmation. You write it down 20 times a day. And I highly suggest that you have that affirmation only be 3 words, so that you write it down, and writing it 20 times only takes maybe 5 minutes. And that repetition of that I am statement, because the affirmation must be an I am statement, and it must be an I am statement that is in a life-affirming context, right? So a wonderful one that if you genuinely want to build more resilience and to know and embody your actual resilience that you already have within you, is that you would write down, I am resilient. You would write that down 20 times a day for 30 days in a row. And I just encourage you, so experiment with yourself. I always tell people as a coach, don't take what I say at face value. In fact, don't take what anyone says at face value, right? That's part of the autonomy that we have. Try it out for yourself and see what works and see how it feels and see what happens with your own experience of that process before you decide what that process actually means. And so you could have any number of things. I am resilient. I am strong. I am empathetic. I am loving. I am forgiving. I am beautiful. I am perfect. I am whole. I am worthy. Any number of these things, right? But I highly recommend that you do not choose a negative affirmation to write down. However, because if you do that, essentially what you're saying is, I would like to feel worse. I would like to feel bad, right? So don't choose an affirmation like I am a loser or I am incapable of things, right? Because actually in and of itself, that's not an affirmation. It's not affirming anything. It's actually detracting from things. So that is a suggestion that I have. The other suggestion I have, so what can someone kind of do now to begin to believe in themselves? One, begin the process of autosuggestion for whatever that means to you. I highly recommend a book called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. It's been very influential in my life and my husband's life and my clients' lives. It's a really great way it's almost like a little guidebook on how you can continually heal your own life throughout the entirety of your life, because we always need to be healing. We always need to be conscious of our well-being. So check that book out. You can heal your life. The other practice that is crucial to forming a resilient way of life, a way of being, and believing in oneself is another daily practice of expressing deep, meaningful gratitude for everything in your life that you feel is valuable to your life. And what that looks like is any way that you want it to look. For me, I wake up in the morning. First thing that I think about when my eyes open are, I am so grateful for my bed. And that might sound silly. It is one of the most meaningful things that you can do for yourself, is to deeply and consistently acknowledge all of the amazing things that you do have and that you can do, because what that does energetically is it opens up the channels, the pathways for that same energetic vibration to come back to you more, because everything, including our bodies, are just giant vibrational energetic balls. That's quantum physics. And I'm not here to talk too much about quantum physics today. That's a whole other topic. But when you think about it, like attracts like. So like energy attracts like energy. So for us to create resilience, to create belief in ourselves and our abilities to lift ourselves up and to lift other people up, we must energetically open the channels of gratitude. So what that looks like is literally being grateful on purpose for all of the things that you do have. So if you, and many times when I talk about this with clients in the very beginning, they might say something like, excuse me, I don't really feel like I have anything to be grateful for. And then I will take you down a pathway, which is, do you have access to clean running water? And every time I've asked that question, from my perspective, the answer has been yes. And then I say, what would your life be like if you did not have access to clean running water? That's a thought experiment, which is intended to help the person who feels not grateful to genuinely understand how much deep gratitude they have to offer energetically back out to the universe. Do you have food to eat? Do you have clothing on your back? Do you have a home? Do you have a roof over your head that when, there's a terrible weather-related issue, that you are shaded from that you are shielded from that? Do you have a passion in life? Are you artistic, or do you have a desire to contribute to society in a certain way? Just being grateful for your desires, right? Do you have a pet that you love? Like, there's no thing that is too small to express deep, deep gratitude for. And what you will see is, in that practice, you will begin opening up healing energetic channels that were previously closed because solely for the fact that you were not consciously and intentionally expressing gratitude on a daily basis. Now, kind of a sidebar for all of this, none of this am I proposing is an all or nothing practice. In fact, I am really, really, really intent on telling you that that is a self-sabotage measure in and of itself. Anytime you have the thought process that says, either I do it all and I do it all the time, or I've failed, that's self-sabotage, because that's not real, right? So all of these practices, and by all, I mean affirmations and gratitude, two small practices that honestly together, likely if practiced daily, could be done in under 8 minutes. It's not to be said that if this doesn't happen every single day, that somehow you're a failure. In fact, no. That's not the answer. That type of thinking, that perfectionist mindset, is one of the most damaging ones that exists in this world. So I really want to be clear here. Do it at your own pace. Participate in it with whichever amount of energy you are willing and able to give each day. And some days, as we know, one day you might have lots of energy and you're really feeling that gratitude and that affirming energy. And some days you might just be like, I don't feel like I have this in me right now. And I accept myself for that. I love myself for consciously and intentionally saying that. And I'm going to check in again tomorrow, right? So I would say that perfectionism is the antithesis of resilience. Really let that sink in. A perfectionist mindset is the antithesis. It is the opposite of resilience. Perfectionism is a self-sabotage measure, one of the most widely used and most widely damaging self-sabotage mechanisms that we have in this entire world. So, kick perfect to the curb, kick all or nothing to the curb, affirm yourself, express gratitude for what you do have, and open up your brain to reprogramming, because that's what you have the power to do. If that was not the case, I would not be sitting here today telling you all of these things when 15 years ago I was in a terrible eating disorder situation and had no control over my diabetes. And by control, I mean control over the choices I was making, right? Because we can't control diabetes, but we certainly can control the choices that we make with the resources that we have available to us, which is the determining thing that determines how our diabetes is. So it's possible 100% to recover and stay in recovery. And you have the power within you right now to do so. And right now, no matter when you're watching this, is always going to be right now, right? That's the only time that's real. Now, so there's never going to be a perfect time, right? That is just absolutely insane. It's not a real thing. And waiting for the right time is also a very self-sabotage-like practice. So I highly recommend doing something in this moment after this video ends, grabbing a pen, looking for a pen, grabbing a piece of paper, and writing one thing that's life-affirming for yourself, and write one thing that you're grateful for. That's the first step in creating a life of resilience. Okay. Inner strength, I'm just looking at the questions down here, kind of thinking of it in a past, present, future way of thinking. If you're watching me right now on this video, I'm 100% certain that you have overcome multiple massive difficulties in your life, because you're human. You're a human being, and that's part of the human experience, is overcoming difficulties. So as we think about building resilience in this same, looking through this same lens, think about past difficulties and how you've overcome them. Think about them specifically. In fact, I'd highly recommend that you journal about them. Get a journal, get a pen and a piece of paper, and start writing out about some of the most difficult things in your life that you've overcome. And the evidence of you having overcome it is that you're sitting here right now watching this video. What helped you overcome those circumstances? What parts of yourself were you able to tap into that allowed you to come through that recovery process? Then come into the present, the now, which is really the only time we have. Assess from a place of compassion and curiosity. Hear me. Assess yourself from a place of compassion and curiosity about exactly where you are now, and then write out for the future exactly where you want to be. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does it smell like? What does it sound like? Okay? Because it's very difficult to get somewhere if you don't have some sort of idea of where you are now. You can use a map, for example, right? Like you could put somebody down in the middle of the street and say, go here. But if they didn't have a map, it's going to take them a lot longer, right? So if you can say, hey, I'm here right now. This is where I am with myself, with my beliefs about myself, about my resiliency, about my gratitude, about my affirmations about myself. This is where I am now. And this is where I'd like to be. I'd really like to be here. I'd like to feel this way each day about myself, about my relationship with food, about my relationship with diabetes. And write that down as well. And that will give you a roadmap to where you want to travel, and the gratitude and the affirmations are part of your vehicle to get you there. So all of that being said, I'm not even sure how long this video is, unfortunately, because I don't have a timer going, but I'm going to kind of bring it to a close here. I would like to ideally have this give you some sort of motivation to explore your own internal power for healing, because the power for healing that exists for you lives inside of you. And it's wonderful that you're reaching out here at We Are Diabetes, because when it comes to recovery from an eating disorder, when living with type 1 diabetes, this is the best possible place that I know of that exists in the world right now, which is why I'm so grateful to be on the board of directors, and I have been since 2016. And a couple of references or a couple of resources. I know I mentioned Louise Hay, the author's book, You Can Heal Your Life. I also highly recommend my books. My book, Unleash Your Inner Diabetes Dominator, which I published in 2015. Thousands and thousands of people have read it and have said it's helped them form a much healthier, stronger, more resilient relationship with themselves and their diabetes. And then if you want to take it a step further, this is a workbook. It's called Love, Forgive, Never Give Up. My husband and I co-wrote this book together. Both of them are available on Amazon. This is a workbook on how to create resiliency. Essentially, love, forgive, never give up. These are practices. And in this book, we talk about our very difficult experiences in life and how we've used love, forgiveness, and perseverance as practices to pull us through the toughness and into another level of being. So I hope this has helped you. I want you to know that I believe, I don't care who you are that's watching this, I believe with 100% certainty that you have the ability to heal yourself, that you have the ability to recover from your eating disorder, create a healthy, vibrant relationship with yourself and your diabetes, and live life the way that you feel you were meant to. You can always see me on diabetesdominator.com. My Facebook profile, Danielle Love, is public, and you can come look at the content I create there. And I wish you nothing but lots of love, many blessings, and a lot of patience, compassion, and resilience on your healing journey.